Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer, and welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we show you old 16mm films and try to figure out what's going on. That last film was, I believe, it's from the Oregon Archive, and it was entitled Home Along the Way, Goose Story. And it was great to read all of your comments about being bullied by geese. I don't remember ever being bullied by one. We certainly didn't have geese on the little mini farm attempts that my dad had. We did have chickens, and we did have ducks. And they were mallard ducks that we took care of, and then they flew away, and then visited us once, and then didn't come back. But my goose story is related to, we went and saw in Austin, Texas, my wife and I went and saw the bats under the bridge in downtown, and so we're getting ready, and it's getting to be dusk, and we see this guy kind of walking down the path, which is along the river, and or the lake, and you see him being basically behind him there's this big goose going wah, 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 wah. And the guy's trying to run, so the goose had basically laid claim to the path under the bridge, so he was being terrorized by this goose who just would not relent. So and then the bats showed up. So anyways, here's a film that I got from someone locally. They wanted me to scan the film for them, and then they were like, here, you can have this film. And this is an interesting thing. I looked at my notes, and I don't think I've shown this as part of the lunchtime streaming show, but it's an interesting curio. I don't have a lot of information about it. The person who had it didn't have a lot of information about it, but it's basically, this is documentation of a ride, of, I guess, what they call a dark ride, at Six Flags, called Okefenokee. And this is essentially it's kind of like It's a Small World, but it's all themed, Uncle Remus themed. So Brer Fox, Brer Rabbit, etc. And there's music, and hopefully that won't get us in trouble, but here's Okefenokee. Enjoy.
Welcome, neighbor, welcome to the Okefenokee. Welcome, neighbor, welcome. You surely made our day. You should have seen us sitting right here. We thought you would never get here. Too bad you did. So let's get on our way.
Okefenokee is a hokey-pokey. Don't ever hurry, but they got no worry. Just moving along and smiling a song. Take her advice and you'll never go wrong. Say okey-dokey to the Okefenokee. You're gonna forget it and never regret it. There's a whole lot of stuff like I told you before. Once you have tried it, you'll holler for more. Come on. So come on along with a smile and a song.
Before you go further, we just thought we'd warn you. There's creatures up ahead that are liable to scorn you. And we've heard that it's true. There are some don't get through. I'd turn around and go back as if I was you. Go back, turn around, go back.
Okefenokee is an old hokey pokey. Okefenokee is a pride and joy of the dear old South. Black-eyed peas and shut my mouth. The Okefenokee is an old hokey pokey. Yes, Christmas time is blissful time in the Okefenokee. Okefenokee is an old hokey pokey. Okefenokee is a pride and joy of the dear old South. Black-eyed peas and shut my mouth. The Okefenokee is an old hokey pokey. Yes, Christmas time is blissful time in the Okefenokee. Okefenokee is an old hokey pokey. Don't ever hurry, 'cause it ain't got no worry. Just moseying along and smiling a song. Take her advice and you'll never go wrong. Say okey dokey to the Okefenokee. You're gonna forget it and you'll never regret it. There's a whole lot in store, like I told you before. Once you have tried it, you'll holler for more.
Y'all hurry back, you hear?
Wow. Okay, so I've put in the comments on YouTube the Wikipedia entry for Monster Mansion, which is what Okefenokee turned into. And supposedly, yes, Sid and Marty Krofft did actually do an iteration of it. And some people, so I used to watch this thing on YouTube called Defunct Land, which was basically looking at old attractions at different types of amusement parks and theme parks. And they talked about this Okefenokee Ride in relationship to Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain at Walt Disney World supposedly had a Uncle Remus theme to it as well that they only just recently got rid of. Yeah, so this film is just fascinating because it's documentation of it, and so it makes me wonder: was this shown to shareholders? Was this a promotional film that was then shown to other people made by the ride architects? I don't know. There's not a whole lot of information about this on here, so it's kind of a fascinating artifact. And this is why we collect old 16 millimeter films, because these things kind of pop up, these weird documentations. All right, let's see. So behind me, I'm getting better at remembering which shoulder I'm supposed to point to, is the scanner, and we've got a film set up on it. And let's go ahead and watch it. Play it safe electrically. And I'm not going to show the Shake Hands with Danger song because I showed that yesterday. All right, so enjoy.
Electricity helps us in almost everything we do. Electricity is really man-made lightning. It will serve you for the rest of your life. It is controlled energy. Electricity is very safe when used properly, but it can be extremely dangerous if you aren't careful. Sparks from a kite snagged on 2 high-voltage power lines in California caused this. When the sparks fell on dry bushes, it started a fire that destroyed 200 homes, causing damage amounting to $40 million.
My job is a lineman. I work for a power utility. Now, electricity is a wonderful thing, but it must be controlled. If it stays in the wires and on the insulators, fine. But if it was to be cut and fall to the ground, now it would be just like lightning. And lightning takes the shortest path to the ground. Now, if you were to come in contact with that wire, you could suffer severe shock, or be burnt, or even be killed.
Flying kites and controlled model planes is great fun, but fun can turn into tragedy if you're anywhere near overhead power lines. If your kite or plane makes contact with the power line, you could be the perfect path to ground that electricity always seeks. You could be seriously burned or killed. Follow these tips and you'll be safe. Always fly your kite and plane far away from power lines. Never fly your kite in the rain. Always use dry string, wood, and paper in your kite. Never metal wire, metallic string, or cloth. Always fly well away from TV and CB antennas. If your kite or plane gets caught in a power line, stay away from it. Call your local utility company. It could be causing a power blackout. And never pull the string or climb a power pole to get it free yourself. Trees, great for climbing and building tree houses. But trees might have electric wires running through the branches. Trees are full of moisture, and electricity runs through them very easily. So before you start to climb, check for wires and be sure your friends do the same. Avoid danger by simply staying away from trees near wires.
Part of my job as a lineman is climbing power poles to make repairs. It's a dangerous job unless you've been trained how to do it and wear very special protective equipment. No one but a lineman should ever climb a power pole for any reason. Not even to rescue a cat. You know, if you don't frighten it, a cat will climb down just as easily as it climbed up. Climbing a power pole for any reason is risking your life.
This means exactly what it says. Danger, high voltage. These signs are warnings to all of us that the area contains very powerful electric currents. When you see a sign like this, stay completely away from the area. Tell younger children what the sign means and keep them away too. Structures such as these may be common around your neighborhood. They contain very powerful electric currents. Obey danger signs and stay away. If you see one that appears to be open, call your local utility immediately. You might think this is just a little bit of fun. But it isn't. It can have disastrous results.
There we go. 2 more floors to go. Oh, heck. Now what do we do?
Fine. How'd you?
Never shoot at insulators. You could be endangering my life. I have to climb those poles, and if that wire was to fall off from the insulator, it could fall on me, it could burn me, could severely injure me, or could even kill me. I can't understand why people will shoot at insulators and use them as targets.
Looks harmless, doesn't it? But it isn't. Stay away from fallen overhead wires. Anyone who touches them could be killed. A fallen wire does not necessarily have to spark to be deadly. Never touch anything that is in contact with the wire. Be sure to stay far enough away in case the wire should swing in the wind. Guard the area to keep people away. As soon as possible, have someone call the police or your local utility company. Tell them what's wrong and where the fallen wires are. They will know what to do. Summertime, and the living is easy. As long as you're sure there are no overhead power lines to cause you an emergency. Be sure your mast is low enough to safely clear any overhead power lines. Remember to allow for uneven ground and bouncing. When you're sailing, be sure your mast does not touch any overhead power lines. You'll be able to enjoy all of the summer by being careful. Water and electricity do not mix. In fact, water is an excellent conductor of electricity. It definitely is not a good idea to have electric radios, record players, or any electrical appliance anywhere near the water. Keep them away. If you don't, you're asking for trouble. When you're cleaning the pool, watch out for those overhead power lines. Every year, hundreds of people are injured or killed by lightning. It's not controlled or predictable like electricity. If you're caught outside during an electrical storm, stay away from trees and water. Find low ground and crouch down. Let's run over some of those safety tips again. Never fly kites or controlled model planes anywhere near overhead power lines. Check to see that there are no wires running through branches before you climb trees or build tree houses. Stay away from these areas. Watch for overhead power lines when sailing. Be sure to stay away from any fallen overhead wires. Never use insulators as target practice. Remember, only linemen are meant to climb power poles. You don't have to be afraid of electricity if you treat it with the respect it deserves.
I love it. All the activity associated with power lines, climbing trees, flying kites, sailing, all those things, and then of course trying to shoot out insulators. that was kind of, I guess that was a problem in some places. People thought it was funny because they'd see sparks and stuff. Anyways, let's learn about leaves. Let's learn about something that's not so, doesn't give you a lot of bad ideas. And I guess that's the thing, is I saw that in the comments. Some of these films that are cautionary tales are actually instructional films on how to do the bad behavior that they're trying to keep you from doing. Drug films tend to do that. And then, of course, some of the cafeteria manners films do that as well. But this is just learning about leaves. I'm not too worried about what's going to happen with this, but I could be surprised. Here we go. Enjoy.
Spring, and everywhere new leaves are beginning to grow. These are the growing leaves of a poplar tree. During the winter, they were covered tightly in buds at the ends and along the sides of the twig. With the coming of warm weather, the buds opened and the leaves began to grow. These pictures have been greatly speeded up so that you can see in a few seconds the growth that takes place through several days. Each kind of tree has its own leaf pattern. These are the young leaves of a red oak tree. The leaves of this green ash tree are quite different from the poplar or the oak. Let's look at some full-grown ash leaves. When we pick one, we find that instead of a large single blade, there are 7 small ones called leaflets. You will find leaves interesting things to collect and study. You can dry the leaves between sheets of newspaper and then mount them in a scrapbook or on charts. You might collect leaves that show different shapes. No 2 leaves have ever been found exactly alike, not even those on the same tree. Pine trees have leaves too. Pine tree leaves are much different from the other ones you have been looking at. They are long and needle-like. There are many other kinds of leaves around us. This lawn is made up of leafy plants. These are clover leaves. Notice that each leaf has 3 leaflets. Blades of grass are also leaves. Grass and other lawn plants grow from stems that are close to the ground. A lawnmower cuts off only the tops of the plants, and leaves keep growing from below. Our camera shows here in a few seconds the growth of several days. Leaves are one of the three principal parts of most green plants. You can see that they are attached to a main stem, which bears roots underground. Leaves are very important. Many animals use the leaves of green plants for their food. And all our vegetables come from plants with green leaves. We eat the leaves of such plants as spinach and cabbage. Now let's experiment with some leaves to find out why they are so important to a plant. After picking them, we boil them in water for a few minutes. Boiling kills the leaves, but they are still green. Now we pour on grain alcohol. In a few minutes, the alcohol dissolves the green coloring from the dead leaves. The green coloring, which we have taken from the leaves, is called chlorophyll. Leaves with chlorophyll make food for the plant. Scientists are experimenting with green plants to find out why chlorophyll is so important. They have discovered that plants without chlorophyll, such as the fungi, cannot make food for themselves. They must get their food from plants with green leaves. It has also been discovered that plants make food only in the green parts of their leaves. Inside this darkened closet, the plants in the pot are yellow. Plants grown in the dark produce no chlorophyll and cannot make food. Scientists still have much to learn about chlorophyll, but they know that when the sun shines on a green leaf, food is made, and this food is sugar. The moving white blocks represent dissolved sugar going down the stem to other parts of the plant. Let's look at the cut edge of a leaf as it appears through a microscope. Carbon dioxide from the air enters through tiny holes in the leaf. Water comes up from the roots. Inside the leaf, carbon dioxide and water unite to form sugar, but only if chlorophyll and light are present. The newly formed sugar goes back into the other parts of the plant. There it is used for growth, or it may be stored. When sugar is produced faster than it is carried away, it may be changed to starch and stored for a few hours inside the leaf. An experiment will show that starch may be stored in a leaf. First, we take a leaf from a plant growing in a window. Then we pick a leaf from another plant that has been kept in the dark for several hours. As in our first experiment, the leaves have been boiled and then covered with grain alcohol to take out the chlorophyll. Now we pour a 0.5% iodine solution on the leaves. Iodine makes starch turn very dark blue, almost like ink. The leaf on the left grew in sunlight. It contains much starch formed from sugar. The other leaf grew in the dark. It contains little or no starch because a plant cannot produce food without light. Let's repeat the experiment with this white and green leaf. It has been growing in the sunlight where it could make food. We boil it. And then, as before, take out the chlorophyll with alcohol. Now we pour iodine solution on the leaf. And we can see that the inky blue color of the stained starch appears only where the leaf was green. This shows that chlorophyll is necessary for the making of food. If we look at the leaf with a microscope, we can see the tiny starch grains, thousands of them. In certain plants, such as the potato, food is stored in underground parts. Sugar made in the leaves travels down the stem, and in the potatoes is changed to starch. The next spring, the starch is changed back to sugar. The sugar is used to form new roots stems, and leaves. Many green plants, such as wheat, store food in their seeds. Sugar made in the leaves is carried up to the growing seeds where it is stored as starch. When the seeds are ripe, they are filled with starch. Many animals eat seeds, and we grind certain seeds, such as these of wheat, into flour. Green leaves must have light to make sugar, and they move so that light will reach them. See how each leaf of this Boston ivy vine faces the light. Here are some young plants growing indoors with a light overhead. If we move the light to one side, the plants turn toward it. All summer, the leaves stay green, but when autumn frosts come, most of them die. The common garden plants die when their leaves are frozen. Here are dead corn plants after a hard frost. Trees and certain other plants stay alive, but the cold weather kills their leaves. Before the leaves die, they become more colorful than ever. At the base of each leaf, there forms a special layer that is easily broken. When the leaf finally drops off or blows away, we can see that where it grew, there is a layer of cork called a leaf scar. Leaf scars protect the twig from losing moisture. Here are twigs from different kinds of trees. You will find that each kind of tree or shrub has a different shaped leaf scar. And so the leaves fall. And soon the trees are bare. But in the woods and along the streets, the leaves, now dead and brown, crackle and rustle as the wind drives them everywhere. Some people burn leaves. This not only wastes them, but it may also be dangerous. They should be placed around shrubs and tree roots for protection during the winter, or spread out and covered with dirt to make good rich soil. And so the leaves of summer are nearly gone except from the evergreens, such as the pines or the rhododendron. Evergreens keep some of their leaves the year round, and only the oldest ones fall off. The leaf is one of the most important parts of a plant. Leaves capture the energy of sunshine and use it to make food. All the living things in the world depend upon this food made by green plants.
So they just decided to use some plant footage and teach us about this is almost exactly the same as Growth of Plants, another Encyclopedia Britannica film. All right, let's, Alan's got a lot of problems. Let's learn about the management of Alan. Or maybe this isn't a film about management. Let's see.
This is the story of how emergency management specialists from the federal, state, and local levels of government work together to meet the threat of Hurricane Alan and serve the people of Texas.
Now here's a complete look at what an approaching hurricane has done to Corpus Christi. These two red flags on the Lawrence Street T-head were raised early this afternoon when a hurricane warning went into effect. They mean a hurricane could strike the area within 24 to 36 hours. Thousands of local residents have heeded that warning and have left town for points inland. The park rangers were asking the last tourists to leave. A few, in fact, didn't even know about Alan.
Please be advised, we're under hurricane warning. We're under hurricane warning. You will have to vacate the island immediately.
Meanwhile, long lines existed at local stores that still had plywood for sale. Some said they had wished they had bought that wood before those two red flags were raised.
In nearby Aransas Pass, the downtown area is boarded up. Many of the businesses have closed. Others will close very shortly. Over in Ingleside, there's a similar situation.
In the past hour, we are under Hurricane Alan.
warning state. We advise you to evacuate as soon as possible.
But on Interstate 37, a steady stream of traffic going north toward San Antonio. A lot of people aren't sticking around. Those that are leaving are calling the civil defense. They want to know...
Alan is shaping up to be a storm that could make Celia look like a baby. That's the fact. It is now coming this direction. And if you will remember, we were fortunate in Celia in that we didn't have major surge tides. Don't think we will be this lucky this time, because if it hits anywhere near Corpus Christi, you're going to see some massive surge tides. So, all of you who are viewing this, and there are any place near a flood tide area, any place near water, you should evacuate now. It's not funny, it's a serious business now because it's coming. And if you want to see something impressive, look at this. It's covering practically the entire Gulf of Mexico. The leading edge of the cloud shield is now very...
Representatives here decide who's going to be the agency's spokesman. Bob is en route.
Friday, August 8th, 1980. The State Emergency Operating Center is activated to respond to an impending disaster, Hurricane Allen. The State Emergency Management Council is composed of various state agencies and the Red Cross, as appointed by the governor. They operate from the center to utilize their capabilities in the most effective way possible. The center serves as a coordinating point in the decision-making process to respond to the needs of the political subdivisions of the state. The special assistant to the governor opens the meeting.
A lot of hard hours put in by everybody, and ahead of time we want to express our appreciation from Governor Clements for your work on this, and nerves will be strained, patience will be strained. We've got to keep working at it, keep working together, do our things the way we know how to do them, and follow through with the training that we've all been given to get the job done.
Those of you that have been here before know that
the state coordinator briefs the council.
Period so far as nerves are concerned, and that is just sitting and waiting to see what's going to happen. We do know that there is a considerable amount of spontaneous evacuation. The city manager of South Padre Island tells me that South Padre Island will be totally vacated by dark tonight. That's what's going on. We have had contact with all of the people along the coast. We have sent out teletypes advising them of the governor's proclamation and of the availability of the disaster district committees at Houston and Corpus.
Next, the meteorologist from the Texas Department of Water Resources describes the monitoring of the hurricane and its current location.
Of the hurricane. So with this, we are able to plot the eye of the hurricane on half-hour intervals. This is the eye, and it's approximately 250 nautical miles southeast of Corpus Christi. The movement has been about 18 miles per hour, generally in the west-northwest direction. So if you continue, if the hurricane continues in that direction at that speed, it should make landfall in 14 hours.
Doug has some comments now. Doug, you want to come on over and you go ahead and get the comments?
Now that the agencies are updated, the evening controller is introduced, and each representative reports on the kind of support his agency can provide. The exchange of information is vital to a coordinated effort.
In Richmond, they have supplies available, water, whatever they need. Corpus Christi is still in the process of evacuation.
Air National Guard said that they would have their 3 C-130s in Corpus Christi at 1800 about an hour from now, and they would stand by it until which time...
While the briefing continues, a weather update is received, requiring the immediate attention of the group.
The eye is becoming smaller. All indications are the thing is now beginning to intensify. The winds were estimated at 150 miles per hour, but I would guess that estimate is low. Brownsville and Brownsville area and north should be experiencing squall-like situation within the hour.
We need to make a decision here whether or not the council should recommend to a specific local official somewhere that they should expedite their evacuation, taking into consideration the fact there's been a considerable amount of spontaneous evacuation, as George has pointed out.
I expect the rains to begin within the hour, and they're going to continue until this thing passes on over. Evacuation should begin as soon as possible. again between Brownsville.
Would all of you agree then that we should probably send, in the name of the Disaster Council, recommendation to those local officials from Brownsville flashes, if evacuation is not complete, they should begin and expedite it. Is this about what you're saying, Bob? Would you care to compose that message, and then we'll edit it and type it?
Thank you.
The briefing is concluded, and each council member returns to his duty area in the Emergency Operating Center to continue his work until the new shift begins. The evacuation is underway. People head for shelters. The Red Cross and other organizations provide aid and comfort to evacuees, for their home cities are now boarded up and empty. In the evening, the new shift continues the center's vigilance as Allen's winds reach 170 miles per hour. Landfall of the eye of the hurricane is of grave significance. Winds around the eye will be its most destructive force. Location, direction, and speed of the storm are analyzed as these emergency management specialists prepare for the contingencies.
This picture was taken at 3 o'clock this morning, so it's 4 hours behind the fact, but it does show the eye very well defined. In fact, radar indicates that the eye has shrunk to less than 10 miles in diameter, and this is suggestive of the fact that the storm has intensified during the night. It's since drifted westward, and the outlook is for it to drift west-northwestward and make landfall just north of Brownsville, probably over the southern half of Padre Island, about mid-afternoon.
During the night, the rains began. Now they are steadily increasing, along with the wind. So far, there's no serious damage, but it won't be long before Allen strikes the Texas coast. As landfall becomes imminent, the governor arrives and is updated on the emergency. As the state's chief executive, the governor provides the authority necessary to pull together all the elements of this disaster management group.
It has decreased its westward movement, showed signs of strengthening around the central portion of the eye. It looks like it could hit north of Brownsville and between there and Matagorda Bay. That's a great distance. Sometime this evening, it's possible that it will make a lurch northward and then westward. So a likely area, rather than Brownsville, which is where it's pointed now, will be to the north of there, along the South Padre Island into Laguna Madre, and maybe as far north, it's Baffin Bay.
Not much change if it's slipping south, huh?
No, sir.
We are experiencing something that's new to us, and that's that traffic volumes are very low on the highway. In fact, like a normal weekend.
After the hurricane update, each agency representative told the governor.
12 hours on, 12 hours off. Have the rest of our troopers on standby alert to go when this thing finally comes ashore. And that's about all we're doing, is just kind of playing a waiting game to see.
How do you explain that?
I think a lot of that traffic, the early traffic, was a result of an awareness that never heretofore existed until the Disaster Emergency Services, Texas Coast and Marine Council, and Insurance Information Institute program got 2.5 million maps out along the Texas coast over a 6 to 8 year period.
136.
But even as the briefing is in progress, an unexpected development off Port Aransas causes a new and serious concern to arise.
The current problem is a Liberian tanker off Port Aransas. At its last reported drift direction, it would appear to intercept the beach. Any cleanup, open water oil recovery, or cleanup on the beach would not be possible with the seas running 20 to 30 feet. So we'll just have to hope they get power restored to the engine. They were trying to evacuate the crew. That's the message we received. That was at 12:26.
That's the latest we can get on area.
Is that coming through the Coast Guard?
Right, the Coast Guard is handling the regional response team. They are the coordinator.
It's not going to be a nice situation. There's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of people displaced, a lot of economic loss. But if we can all work together, I think we can minimize the damages. I think that's all we really can do at this point, is try to hold down those damages to the minimum.
any of you can think of something that I can assist with through the office of the governor and whatever kind of an executive directive would be, or contact with the federal agencies, or laying our finger, or activating some resource that we heretofore don't have, just let me know. We'll see what we can do with it.
Our probable next step will be request the presidential disaster declaration.
Sure.
In your name.
Thank you very much. Good to see everybody.
That evening, the waiting grows more intense. The governor and the state's U.S. senator are present to see what help they can provide. But mainly, everyone must wait. All has been planned for except the unexpected. And so the group waits, not knowing what will happen until the hurricane lands. In the night, the hurricane lands. Thankfully, the wind damage is light. Because of the early evacuations and the center's crisis management, the loss of life is low. Even the oil tanker, the Mary Ellen, runs safely aground. But the danger everywhere has not passed. The rains continue. There will be flooding. The center continues to operate.
The heavier rains will not be occurring in this section of the Rio Grande.
Although there will be flooding, not all areas will be affected.
It's still raining now.
In some areas, the rains are abating. It's becoming clear that it is safe to release people into some of the evacuated areas.
Victoria, our people there, and the highway department talking to their people in Yoakum, which is their district office. We're kind of the opinion that we could release people on a line east of US 77 to go back.
And though the situation continues to call for constant monitoring in such matters as water availability,
We need to check with them, see if they have any additional need for water.
the sense of emergency is lessening.
They're working on now. Yes. There's a car out in the parking lot with its lights on. It's a tan four-door Chrysler. I don't know if it's, I guess it's been reported.
Oh, haven't you turned the lights off yet?
Oh, yeah. All right.
National flood insurance. Surely not enough to do the job, but apparently there was from what I've heard, a 9-foot wall of water. I guess it was a tidal wave, and it just went through and took everything. Gutted it completely here on the shoreline. If you can call it fortunate, we're fortunate here because we have the sand and whatnot. Back down 2 or 3 blocks the other way, they've got just mud and grime and slime and filth that looks like it came out of the sewer.
Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, arrives on the coast. They are here following the governor's request to the president for a major disaster declaration. They will work with the Texas Division of Emergency Management and other state agencies. And they explain to people how FEMA will help relieve the burden of this disaster.
We like to get in to sort of provide a nucleus to organize a disaster recovery effort and turn it all over to people back in this area. But one of the things we do, as quick as we can get into a disastrous area, is to hire local people and turn everything over to them, and so we get our people out. They know more about what they need to do for themselves than some Fed does from up in Denton. So
FEMA is the United States government's agency for disaster assistance, and they arrive on the scene fast when state government asks for public and private assistance. Disaster assistance centers are established. They will house all government agencies and volunteer organizations who are here to provide speedy assistance to storm victims. As always, state and federal agencies associated with disaster emergency management promote constant awareness of disasters. They develop long-term programs to mitigate the effects of disasters like Allen. Emergency management is a big job because it includes not only mitigation, but also preparedness, response, and recovery. The management of Hurricane Allen was a big job, but it was accomplished. Through the teamwork, capabilities, and dedication of these emergency management specialists, working within the framework of many levels of government, the lives of many Texans were saved and hardships were reduced.
All right, so that was kind of fascinating. I thought for sure it might have been civil defense or NOAA, or FEMA, but this was actually a Texas-produced thing, and this is from a batch of films we got from the Texas Archive of the Moving Image, which is based in Austin, Texas. Who I hope to see some of these people next week, as we were big fans of what they do. One person who is in the comments is definitely going to be there, and hopefully get to record a quick little hi. So EMEA is the conference. It's in Pittsburgh next week, and that's where I'll be broadcasting from. If you're in Raleigh today, I'm going to be showing Star Trek 4 at the Science Museum, and we're going to have a special guest who I believe is a consultant on more up-to-date Star Trek television shows. So we'll watch the film, we'll do some trivia, and then you get to ask him some questions. So that starts at 7 o'clock. I can't remember how much the tickets are. I think they're $5. But yeah, that's at the North Carolina Science Museum downtown. But thanks for tuning in today. Hopefully you liked what you saw. Would love a thumbs up or a like or even a subscribe, or get notifications. That helps with all the algorithms that are running constantly on what AV Geeks is up to, the scrutiny of all these social media algorithms. You can also buy us some coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks, and you can tip us at patreon.com/avgeeks. That's a great way to support us as well. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend, or beginning of your weekend, and we'll be back on Monday, and we will see you soon. Everybody take care. Bye.